Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. What a day. What a freaking day on Wall Street. We have a lot to talk about. So if you don't like long videos, you might want to split this one in half. I don't know what to tell you. I'm writing things down all day in my little notebook here. Someone out here sent me a few notepads, and I do appreciate that because I really could use them. Anyway, people, let's talk. So yes, this is my post-market wrap-up on this very freaky, extremely freaky Tuesday, January 11th, 2021. Let's start off. Let's start off with the market. Okay, so early on, stocks were under pressure yet again. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down about 300 points. Well, not only did the market reverse all of the losses across all of the major indices, the NASDAQ leading the way, hold that thought, but we finished positive pretty good across the board. Lots of buying today. People, I always explain to you to watch the debt market, okay? It's the driver of this entire market, and the debt market right now is rock solid, especially on the back of what we heard today out of Fed Chair Thing, Jay Powell, also known as Yellowstain. Let's not forget that. He is a freaking dark, pathetic, vile, vomitous, disgusting, hideous criminal, yellow stain. The Federal Reserve is a stain upon the earth. I think we all know that. It's a criminal organization. You all know that. Resignation after resignation after these people get caught insider trading. Even the vice chair himself just going to resign, gets to keep all his profits. No arrests, no charges. Imagine my shock. Stunning. Well, like I said, we have a lot to talk about. So on top of the market making a pretty substantial turnaround today, crude freaking oil. Are you watching crude freaking oil? WTI put on over 4%. WTI now knocking on the $82 a barrel door, going much, much higher. Now, let me see how many of you understand the market. You ready? A little question for you. Looking at the different sectors of the market, okay? Which sector of the market today would you imagine outperformed the rest on the back of crude oil ripping higher over 4%? Exactly, the energy sector. You guys and girls are so damn smart. I love all of you so much. It's the truth here. Yeah, so no surprise with regard to the energy sector. Let's talk about the NASDAQ real quick. I explained to you earlier today in my pre-market report that before I move on, I am not in the business of picking tops and or bottoms. And anyone who is, good luck. You're going to need it. But I did say that, in my opinion, the tech sector, the pressure on tech is way overblown. And let me see, how many of you would be surprised to find out that the tech sector today outperformed, or the NASDAQ outperformed the other indices, which also put on nice gains? No, this is the truth here. Look, the market always, and this is, you could write this or chisel this into stone, always overreacts either to the upside or to the downside. Now, all of you that follow this blog realize, because I've covered this a gazillion times, that the tech sector is rate sensitive, interest rate sensitive. So when you see, for example, action in the debt market, like we have seen 10-year yield making a substantial move higher, the normalization of the yield curve, well, it hit the tech sector. And again, I told all of you several days ago to start nibbling here, nibble at the tech sector. Look at the Qs, triple Q. I think there's massive opportunity here. I think the market has done what it always does, and that is overreact. So in my opinion, tech is a good spot to be in right now. Anyway, I hope you get in on that, just like those of you that got in on XLE, the banks. Speaking of which, people, those of you who do subscribe to my free newsletter, you know how I feel about the banks, especially JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America. They've really done well lately, and I think I hate to say this word due, because nothing is due for anything, but we should look for an opportunity here to buy any dips moving forward. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to tell you, again, shouldn't surprise you. You shouldn't find this overly shocking or anything, but I'm going to tell you to stick to your guns on the strategy that you and I have had for freaking years. Buy the dips in everything. Continue to buy the dips in everything, and we're going to talk more about why, because we heard from, Yellowstone Powell, Fed chair, earlier today, and he made it pretty clear that a few things are going to happen and some things are not going to happen, and that's really why the market turned around today. I said to all of you recently, expect lower for longer, rates to stay lower for longer. That is exactly what he said today, and that's why the market turned around. He really blew a beaming ray of sunshine straight up the crack of the market, and henceforth why the market made a nice turnaround today. Sincerely, a lot of this people was also on the back of crude oil putting on over 4%. How many of you out here with the show of hands are surprised to see crude rip higher? Put your hand down, because I'm telling you, you haven't seen anything yet. I've been telling you that crude's going to go higher for a very long time. Been telling you to buy the dips, and that's just the way it's going to go. Buy the dips in everything. Now, with that said, cryptocurrencies today, nice turnaround on cryptos, did much better across the board. Bitcoin back around 43,000, gold and silver doing really well. Dollar falling under some pressure today, and like I said, the debt market looks pretty damn good to me right now. I don't see any red flags whatsoever telling me that anything major is going to happen to this market, other than the fact that it's going to be going higher. The MMRI, Mannarino Market Risk Indicator, that you're not going to find a better one anywhere on the freaking planet. Market Risk Indicator, that is. Link in the description of this video. It came down today. We are still in the yellow, in moderate risk. But again, people, I don't see a damn red flag anywhere. So let's talk. I wrote down so much stuff today. There's no way I can cover all of it. But I'm just sitting here writing things down throughout the day here. So the big takeaway, there are a couple of big takeaways from Yellowstone's talk today. You know what bothered me? The number one thing that bothered me today is how this man was not questioned by one of our loving, caring representatives about how the Fed could have been so wrong about their inflation target of 2%. They've surpassed that by hundreds and hundreds of percent. We are now at 6.8. And now one of our caring representatives cared enough to say, Mr. Chairman, how is it that you were so wrong and overshot your 2% target by miles and freaking miles, and people are hurting, not just here in the United States, around the world? That's the ripple effect. No, not one question about that. Because again, they need to make themselves look good. If you wanted to vomit, you could have watched all the questions about climate change. Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of that, but no questions about why the Federal Reserve is punishing the American people with inflation tax, which is about to get monumentally worse. You see, you're not supposed to know about inflation tax. Yes, you're being taxed up the wazoo, and I'm talking deep in the heart of the wazoo, if you know what I'm talking about. And you're forced to pay this, but okay, that's just the way it is in this new environment, so just get used to it. You're getting screwed, and you're not even enjoying it, I bet. Anyway, let us move forward here. So the World Bank, I want you to take this in a little bit. The World Bank today, I'm going to bounce around. I have all kinds of stuff to talk about. The World Bank today is restating how poor nations are buried in debt. They can't afford their debt burden. Meanwhile, the World Bank is calling on developed nations around the world to lend them some more money. How does that work? You see what I'm talking about? The world is addicted to debt. Individual citizens are addicted to debt. What did we find out? American citizens, people around the world who used to be middle class, are continuing to borrow and borrow, believing they're going to borrow their way into some kind of prosperity. No, they're borrowing their way into slavery, debt slavery. You all know that. So anyway, I just thought you'd find that a little bit interesting. Let's see, these indebted nations like the United States, okay, we are the most indebted nation in the history of the world, and we have to continue to borrow. There's no difference between the United States and some poor nation anywhere around the world, other than the fact that we can continue to borrow from the Federal Reserve, who's willing to print whatever they have to print out of thin air. It's just the way it's going to go, but you all know that too. Anyway, let us move on. Let's see here, people. We found this out too, and this is no secret, okay? The Federal Reserve, despite the fact that they're saying they want to fight inflation, okay, that's what they're going to do. They're ready to finally do it. They continue to buy mortgage-backed securities at a feverish, I always have a hard time with that word. The Federal Reserve continues to buy mortgage-backed securities at an incredible pace. What is this actually doing? It's keeping, artificial demand in the market, which is causing housing prices to continue to surge higher. But remember, the Fed's really serious this time about fighting inflation. I already told you the Fed has no intention whatsoever on fighting inflation. All the talk that you heard today, all the nonsense from our so-called representatives is nothing but theater. Okay, the Fed has no intention to stop inflating. In fact, they're going to inflate more, much more, going forward. But see, you're not allowed to know that. It's a secret that maybe we'll keep between ourselves here. Fed Chair Powell goes on to say that he is confident that the Fed will make some kind of price stability happen. Really? You see, what I hear, when the Federal Reserve chairperson says that he is confident that the Federal Reserve will be able to maintain or achieve some kind of price stability, I believe the polar opposite is going to happen. There is no price stability in any aspect of anything. The market, we have no real price discovery behind the market whatsoever. It's all twisted, it is all distorted and bent out of shape by a runaway central bank who continues to buy all the debt, including mortgage-backed securities. So you tell me, how could the market be real? It's not real. With regard to the economy, we're in free fall, and as a percentage of GDP, our economy is cratering. They obviously way missed their inflation target of 2% because we're at 6.8%. But he's confident they can maintain price stability. You can't make that up. I dare you to make something like that up. You can't do it. It's impossible to do. He went on to say, Fed Chair Powell, that the labor force participation rate, are you ready for this, remains stubbornly low. You see, what you're not supposed to know is all the numbers they're telling you are fake, okay, with regard to unemployment and everything else. But I think you already know that. Now, what he does not want you to know is that the labor force participation rate basically is at Great Depression levels. But you're not allowed to know that. He's just saying that it's stubbornly low. Let me ask you while we're on the topic, tell me again, really, how we can have an economic recovery or a boom, because we're supposed to be doing better than ever, according to Jamie Dimon and a lot of other people. Economy is the strongest it's been in decades. How can that possibly be if the labor force participation rate is at Great Depression levels? How about it can't happen? Duh. Make it up. Make it up. Let me explain this to you again. And actually I put a little star next to it because I thought this was important. I'm going to tell you again that debt will continue to be issued in record amounts moving forward, not just by the Federal Reserve, but central banks around the world who are still determined to inflate some more. And let me say this too while we're on that topic. If you think they're not going to create magical reasons out of thin air to borrow more money into existence, that our illustrious, retard, caring representatives aren't going to fist feed you more reasons why we need to continue to borrow cash out of thin air. You see, they can't tell you that the debt-based system demands that they do that. The big secret that you're not allowed to know, that all our representatives are well aware of, is that we have a debt-based economic model. That the debt-based economic model is the beast system. That the debt-based economic model must be fed more and more and more exponentially every day just to maintain where we are. Because without this, a trap door opens and we all fall down and we end up back in Mad Max times. Okay, or we go forward in time to Mad Max. Because that's where we're going. And I think most of you already know that. I got so much stuff. I'm going to try to rush a little bit here. So going back to with people, look, I don't think there's a person out here, not one of you, who doesn't realize that central banks are on a mission to inflate. What does that mean? If the Federal Reserve and other central banks are to continue to inflate, and that means obviously debase the currency, what does it mean? It means you can expect inflation to surge much, much higher than where we are right now. And there is no doubt about it. And today, as a matter of fact, you had Powell, Fed criminal number one over there, blaming COVID. He's blaming COVID. Oh, it's COVID. It's not the fact that we're printing cash out of thin air in greater and greater amounts every single day. That we're running some kind of a repo scam to the tune of multiple $1 trillion every single night. Oh, you're not supposed to know that either. So we're going to keep that between the two of us. People, there's another fear campaign going on right now. Turn on any of the mainstream channels, and what is fear? Fear is control. All right, and the more afraid they can make you of anything, the more they control your mind here. So I want you to understand that. So we have the World Health Organization now warning. This is a quote here. Warning that half of Europe will suffer from more COVID infections within the next few weeks. People are being hospitalized in record amounts. And the big secret behind that you're not supposed to know is many of these people are fully vaxxed. That's because the vaccine works so well. Yeah, and we're getting a surge here. You know what? It's all about control, people. You all know that. Just remember, they're going to try to convince you of things that you can't even believe. And of course it's true because you're seeing it on TV. And once you see it on TV, it's true. No one has the impetus maybe to go do a little research on their own. I'm going to leave it there. Let us move forward here, people. I'm not even going to talk about that. I will get myself in trouble. So anyway, let's just conclude this before this video gets too darn long. So going back to the Federal Reserve and Powell today, he's committed to some kind of price stability. He's data dependent. And he also said that he's going to rely on the Federal Reserve's tools to, make everything right. Well, you can count on here, again, is that you haven't seen a damn thing yet with regard to actions of central banks who are determined to fulfill their end game, to become the lenders and buyers of last resort. Make sure the economy stays in some kind of a meltdown mode, because that's exactly where we are in. Again, you have the propaganda ministry telling you that we're doing great. But then out of the mouth of the Fed chairperson himself, he's saying that the labor force participation rate is stubbornly low. We have money velocity at historic lows. You cannot have a recovery without these things, or a boom, or anything else. You see, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth because they think you're too stupid to really understand what's going on. Me, I know for a fact that you clearly understand what's going on. Last thing I want to cover with regard to the Federal Reserve and their runoff. There's a lot of Federal Reserve presidents coming out talking about how the Federal Reserve is going to run off its balance sheet. They're going to sell the debt that they own. Meanwhile, they can't do it. No one will buy it. Nobody will buy the debt the Fed is holding when they can buy new debt being issued with a higher rate of return. But you're not allowed to know that. And the Fed chair went on to say this earlier today that, maybe the Fed is not going to run off its balance sheet, maybe for a little bit of time, because he knows too that it can't happen. Can't happen. What you're going to see is the Federal Reserve continue to do exactly what it's been doing, and central banks will continue to inflate around the world, and things are going to get a lot worse for people, especially those people who continue to borrow and borrow and borrow some more in an attempt to claw themselves. Like I said, I've done this exact gesture, claw themselves into some kind of delusion that they are still members of the middle class, and they are not. They just can't face up to it. So unfortunately, they got to suffer, and I hate that. I really do hate that, because it didn't need to be like this. People could have been taking advantage of the market, at least to try to set themselves up a little bit moving forward. Again, the biggest bull run in the history of the world that we've actually been in. And as I've covered, there are certain people out here who have told people to stay out of this market for years. They have hurt people on a massive scale, and I really feel bad for these people. People, I'm going to end this video. Love all of you. Lots of important stuff here. Please share this video. I count on all of you. I'm not on anywhere. You will not find Greg Mannarino on one single social network. So it's you. It's all of you who get our work out there. This is not Greg Mannarino's thing. This is our thing. You got it? Get it out there. Share this stuff. Let people hear this, because they're not going to find any of this anywhere else. I can promise you that. Love all of you. See you in the morning.